There comes a time in our life where relationships just the old school way don't work anymore. And I believe a lot of people remain single not because they can't find someone, but because they feel almost disheartened by the constant repetition of the outcome of a relationship. This is all determined of their unconscious pattern. So the pattern, of course, will recreate constantly the same scenario. Has nothing to do that there are no good people out there. No way, Jose. There's only something to do with still living in an unconscious world pattern in your own personal internal world. So this unconscious pattern are usually obviously driven by trauma and child programming. It's all in the child's brain, right? How can you have actually a mature relationship is having a conscious relationship where either you healed your unconscious pattern before and you discovered them all so you can see them clearly so you don't get triggered, so your relationship with yourself, with the world stabilizes and becomes harmonious, or you work together with the chosen person, which is just, you choose someone that has also same inspirations of healing their unconscious pattern, and you both want to contribute to each other's healing pattern. But even that is very rare because usually there would be like still a push and pull that can really drive one or the other partner away because of the unconscious pattern that's still occurring. So, you know how they say, like, oh, you can heal inside the relationship. Well, I don't believe that if you truly are on the deepest path of uncovering your unhealed pattern, that this is still possible. Either that would be a detachment. Detachment is if when you actually dissociate. Detachment is can be also like a dissociation. Disassociation. Yes, detachment can be also a disassociation. Which is a very common thing to do, like detaching from. Oh, I don't want to talk about it because it's in the past. Well, but the energy in the past needs to be resolved. You can not live in the present moment and then not cleared away the wreckage of your past. That's the thing. Like some people try to live very present, yet never actually cleared away the old pattern. And I think that's just detachment from, oh yeah, let's be just present, but never actually tackled the root cause of the agony before. So basically, they try to be present with the old pattern of disassociation and pretending that everything is okay when it's not. That happens very often. I'm not sure if I had it. I have other issues. But I did observe it quite a bit, especially with men. Men feel very often challenged by time. They want to go out, hunt, you know, make money, whatever. And then they find sometimes investing time in their own internal world, sometimes too tedious. And then this detachment happens where they want to be present. So the presence helps them to feel actually better about themselves. But at the same time, because they didn't investigate and didn't reflect and didn't change certain things about themselves that created a lot of heartache for them and for others, they still walk around like a ticking bomb. And that's usually because the ego still has a time recollection always and it still can be triggered. So my personal recommendation is to be present, but also clear the wreckage of your past. Um, then there can be full harmony with yourself. This is the present moment, but also with the world, with other people. Because why do we actually try to heal go on a healing journey? It's not just for ourselves, because for ourselves, we would just be present. You can live on a mountain, be present, you will be fine. In the moment we're dealing with other people, with society, with a reflection of us, but in another version, and feeling triggered or feeling some sort of tension or some sort of discord or disharmony, that's usually because there is some pattern that is still needs to be sorted. So we heal because eventually we want to be in harmony, not just with ourselves, but also with the outside world. Harmony with ourselves is living in the present moment. Harmony with the whole of society in the whole wild world. Total world peace is actually our total world peace with our own unconscious pattern. That's what I believe. Actually, it's true. It's a quite bold statement, but it's true. So that's the point of therapy and present moment living. That's why being walking with spirit, walking in dignity is 50% of the duty. The other 50% is constant awareness of understanding which patterns are activating right now, which are unconscious, which are conscious, because there is also like a process of conscious pattern, because even conscious pattern, it's nice to understand yourself. It's not just to understand yourself what is wrong with you, but also to understand what's right with you. What are your strengths? What are your gifts to bring to yourself into this world? So, yeah, I think this is very, very special. This self inquiry, self investigation is something that is underrated as a hobby. Like people like, oh, someone is in therapy, someone is in a spiritual journey. Actually, it's a proper, like, it should be taught in school from day one how to get to know yourself. People are like, oh, you have to get to know them first. What about yourself? What about yourself? Most people don't know themselves at all. Let's put it out there. Most people, not all, but most people. And that's because the outside world is programmed to be like outwardly, you know? So, but the outside world is just something that you forget inside of yourself. So if you feel disconnected, if you feel lonely, if you feel not loved, if you feel unseen, if you feel disrespected, if you feel any type of way about the world, it's usually because that's how you treat your own mind, your own brain. So if you feel disrespected, maybe you talk disrespectful to yourself. If you feel someone crossed boundaries, maybe you cross your own boundaries and you don't hold to your own standards. Um, what about being really mindful? Are you really mindful? And I know, from personal experience, I had a phase, I have to admit it. So you know what you're dealing with. I had a phase where self responsibility was so extreme that I felt so overwhelmed by it, because, truth to be told, if you want to ever go from a victim mentality, an addiction, and just darkness, and you want to go into the light, into the great pattern, into goodness of life, there has to be a switch from victimhood and like victim mentality of poor me, everything, everyone is like against me, everyone is a bad person to do something for me, against me, and then it turns into I'm the creator of my circumstances. So if I feel triggered, I can fix these triggers inside of myself. And then the reality will not treat me the same way anymore. The world will change. So, great example. Yesterday, I had an incident from years ago. There was a person that was a little bit on the negative side, which I observed towards myself. Could be so many reasons because sometimes we interact for our own karmic purpose, I believe. Like karmic purpose means to trigger us so we can heal, or for their karmic purpose. So this is impossible to know. That's why we can only take responsibility for ourselves. But the funny thing was, because I remained the same thought pattern about this person, guess what happened a few years later, let's say 3, 4 years later? There was suddenly an incident created by the universe where this person, because my pattern about this person didn't change because I still really felt that's how the person is, the person also confirmed this reality. And then I was like, first, I was really irritated and annoyed. And then it took me really like time to digest it. And I was like, this is an unconscious pattern for sure, because feeling negative is very unusual these days. So I'm like, I need to see why. So I went deeper and deeper and questioned myself why and how is this coming about. And then I discovered the pattern that yes, because I still thought this is the reality came about and confirmed itself. And this is such a high degree of responsibility for your own life, for your own pattern, for your own conscious behavior, which can be very triggering as well, because if you're actually still dealing with lots of difficulties in your life, it's much easier to just hand all over to God, which is like a neutrality base. But remember, I did already the neutrality round, so now it's much more fine tuning, and the fine tuning is much more about much higher frequencies than just neutrality. So, you know, for me, I'm happy to be in love frequency, peace frequency, joy frequency at all times. That's the aspiration. That doesn't mean that I can always manage it. That doesn't mean that I'm perfect. That doesn't mean that I will give up. That means that's my biggest dream of achievement, let's put it that way. So, of course, I'm trying anything and everything every day, every second time of my life to go into this direction, right? So, obviously, that's how I roll, and that's the only message I can also deliver to others. Um, I'm very strict these days just because there was a time where I was not strict at all and I didn't feel the progress. And the minute you take the accountability that this is your thought, not guilting or shaming yourself at all, zero, because that's a trap. There is no guilt or shame. There's only an awareness and neutral, objective awareness of this is the pattern why I'm feeling bad. There's always a pattern why you're feeling bad. Look inside this pattern. So if I felt bad that this colleague was, let's say, not pleasant to me, it's not about blame, shame, guilting that they are like acting out. And it's not blame, shame, guilting that I'm acting out, but it's realizing which pattern brought it into my world, into my immediate destiny. My destiny. I'm not saying collective destiny, but my destiny, because this emotion came in my reality, right? I felt negative about it, how she was talking to me. And then I'm like, no, but this is exactly the pattern that I thought about this person anyway. So I just confirmed it. So basically, 3, 4 years later, I didn't change the pattern. So the universe is like, here's an opportunity to change the pattern. Obviously, I reinforced the pattern in that moment because that was the first reaction. But what awareness does is it teaches you afterwards, oh, now you can digest it and now you can learn from it. Because sometimes it's not an instant reaction to learn, it's the afterwards. Sometimes we cannot be unconscious and conscious at the same time. That's just impossible. Sometimes we have to be unconscious to then become conscious afterwards to learn from it. So in that moment, I felt very triggered. I felt very unconscious. I felt very like victimized. And then I was like, wait, but that's a very unfamiliar state these days. So how can I be in charge again of my destiny is only by taking full responsibility, by investigating. And that's just not blame, shame, guilt. It's just pure investigation of pattern. Which pattern triggered that? And only once I saw which pattern recreated this reality in my immediate destiny, then it was funny, then it was laughable, then it was lighthearted, then it let go of me, then the emotion left my body. So, yeah. And nothing has to be done with the other person. It has never anything to do with the other person. Your immediate reality and your way of feeling about something and not repeating the same pattern is by you recognizing the unconscious, something that you couldn't see before. And it's nothing wrong with it. There's so much unconsciousness here to be discovered. That's the whole journey. That's the whole treasure hunt. That's the whole, you know, discovery of your life. Otherwise, it would be so boring to just be a robot and repeat work, rest, work, rest, holiday, work, rest, holiday, work. No, no, no. That's just boring. Where's the self discovery? Where's just this investigation of molding the clay with God? You know what I mean? Okay, God can maybe create my whole full reality and the future, but like the immediate pattern that I still want to fix to create a much higher frequency in my own well-being, what I can control, for sure, that takes a lot of self-responsibility. And this self-responsibility is not neutral. It's goodness. It's goodness. So it takes that only the strongest that come to this paradise. I believe paradise is here on planet Earth on the highest frequency that we can achieve, the highest potential. And, there is actually a saying like only the strongest come into the garden. That's like a German saying. I'm not gonna say it in German, but like there is a saying like only the strongest come into the garden. And I never understood it, but that always was in my awareness that that's the truth. And now I can really relate because the Garden of Eden, the paradise, is only for those who are strong enough to take responsibility for their pattern, not to blame, shame, guilt them, but to change them once they saw them. You cannot change what you don't see. So you have to see it first. And you can only see it if you investigate, but also by life bringing incidences to you. Every day, life will bring you some small incidents where you feel, if you don't feel happy and amazing and grateful about the situation, then there's something that still can be uncovered, recovered into love. So me seeing that this was my idea of her and she just confirmed it again was a recreating this pattern, and I now can feel happy about it because not only it empowered me to see that I'm in charge, so God brought it to my awareness because I can see that it's my own responsibility. So now I'm not scared of responsibility anymore. I'm not guilted and shamed by my responsibility, but I'm truly empowered by my responsibility by seeing that nothing bad happens. I can just fix it, and suddenly it just turns into love. And this great feeling of empowerment of your own well being, of emotional and mental state is just priceless. It's like the gift that keeps on giving, and why I'm here on this planet Earth. and why I love to share this message, because I remember myself being years ago not at all in this stage. So obviously, I can only inform others that are still on the journey. Maybe it can help them, maybe not. Who knows? But yeah, that's the sharing of my story. Enjoy.